Hey everyone, today we're ranking every survivor from worst to best. A tough thing to do with survivors not necessarily having a worst or best, with them largely just being cosmetics as they don't have unique powers like the killers. However, you can still somewhat judge them based on their teachable perks and gameplay benefits such as their character model size and how loud their noises are. To rank the survivors, I'll give each a score out of 20, with each of their 3 perks giving up to 5 points, their character model size getting 1 or 2 for small or large, and then 1 to 3 points depending on how loud their grunts of pain are. Let's get into it. Awful. Number 52, Ash Williams. Ash is the worst survivor by quite a long shot, with a bad range of perks and being large and incredibly loud. Even when he's just walking around, he's like wheezing the whole time. Ash has really odd perks honestly too, and ones which require a lot of support for them to work, making them very niche. Metal of Man has a ridiculously long and contrived activation that using it is more of a detriment than a positive. Flip-flop is fine when heavily supported, then Buckle Up is debatably his only redeeming quality, allowing for potential clutch moments. Bad. Number 51, Ace Visconti. Ace is pretty bad all around to be honest, with his main redeeming quality being his noises, which are very quiet. If you just care about how loud a survivor is, then Ace is a great pick, in fact one of the best. However, he does have quite a large character model. His best perk is probably Open-Handed, a perk which acts as a support perk for the team by extending the ranges of all auras. It can be pretty strong when paired up with common perks like Kindred. His other 2 perks are just super niche to be honest and require very specific builds to get value from. So overall not so great, noises wise really good. Number 50, Cheryl Mason. Cheryl has a number of super niche perks, all of them have rather niche activation times. Soul Guard being a perk that allows you to recover when a killer has a hex, and providing endurance, but this is surprisingly rare. Blood Pact is really awful with its specific activation requirements and incredibly weak effect, requiring you to stay close by to someone who heals you. Repressed Alliance lets you block gens, which is unique but rarely useful, especially with so many killer regression perks being remote nowadays. Cheryl is small and has moderate sounds. Number 49, Rick Grimes. Rick is honestly pretty damn bad, with his one redeeming quality being that he's actually very quiet when injured, making him a decent pick if you don't care about perks, although he does have a larger character model. Apocalyptic Ingenuity is a cool perk that lets you rebuild pallets, but has the horrendous activation of needing 2 chests to be opened first, and the pallet also being a fragile one, meaning if you miss a stun on the killer, it just breaks. His other 2 perks are pretty niche, but I guess do have potential to be helpful in very specific situations, so I won't call them completely terrible. Number 48, Jeff Johansen. Jeff has some overall decent perks, with his best being Distortion, a perk which blocks aura reads, rechargeable through chases. He also has the decent support perk Aftercare, and Breakdown, which is fine. Breaking hooks whenever you get unhooked. Both are pretty mid but can come in useful in niche circumstances. Jeff is otherwise loud and large. Number 47, Renato Lyra. Much like his sister, Renato also has pretty bad perks on offer, but does have very quiet sounds, although he is a bit larger. He gets the teamwork perk Collective Stealth, which suppresses scratch marks when nearby to teammates after healing them. It's just so pointless and dreadful to be honest. It takes more effort to get value from this than to just play normally. Blood Rush is a perk that lets you immediately remove exhaustion, but you also break yourself in the process. It sounds super strong, but it is wildly niche to be honest, and often ineffective even when used well. He does have Background Player though, a perk which provides a solid speed boost when another survivor is picked up, allowing for ease of saves. This one's pretty good. Number 46, Thalita Lyra. Thalita is heavily lacking on the perk side of things, having a bunch of just really bad perks to be honest. She is small and quiet though, making her a good choice if you don't care about perks. Thalita has Cut Loose, a worse Quick and Quiet, which activates on your second vault rather than first. It's really niche. Teamwork Power of 2 is a weird perk that requires you to stay close by to a teammate to retain its 5% bonus to move speed, which is not that strong really, seeing as you have to stay so close. She does have Friendly Competition though, which provides a solid 5% gen speed bonus to you and others who complete a gen together for 2 minutes. Very solid, although this is a really minor buff ultimately. It's not going to do too much. Number 45, Yoichi Asakawa. Yoichi is unfortunately quite weak overall, with him having a number of just super mid perks. Boon Dark Theory is a boon, and so you would presume strong, but it's really not. providing a measly 3% haste bonus within its radius. This is rarely useful, but can be, I guess. Empathic Connection is a worse and more convoluted empathy, so I wouldn't bother. Then Parental Guidance is a half-decent deception or stealth perk, activating when you stun the killer in some way, removing scratch marks. Yoichi is large and has moderate noises. Number 44, Alan Wake. Alan is a very loud character, screaming very loudly. Whilst the voice acting is incredible though, it's a bit of a detriment to gameplay. He's also large. He does also have Champion of Light, a great perk centered around flashlights, with it giving you a higher movement speed whilst aiming one, meaning you don't lose any ground, but you can still blind the killer, making it really worthwhile. Deadline is an odd perk that gives you a sizable downside just for slightly more frequent skill checks. Then Boon Illumination is just fine as a boon, revealing all nearby info. It's nice when paired up with other boons, but is lackluster alone. Number 43, Vee Boonyasak. Vee is okay as a pick, being small but being fairly loud with her noises. Vee does get some fun perks though, like her being able to play a tambourine, which buffs the odds of getting skill checks, letting you progress your actions faster. She also has some interesting additional perks that, whilst fairly niche, do have decent effects once working. Ghost Notes being an alternate option to a perk like Vigil, recovering from statuses faster and removing scratch marks faster too. Road Life has a good effect, buffing healing, but honestly a ridiculously contrived activation method, making it pretty useless to be honest. Number 42, Vittorio Toscano. Vittorio is large and loud and has the horribly convoluted potential energy, which I think often is more of a detriment than a positive, with it being quite hard to truly get value from, and very easy to lose value with. He does have the easy-to-use Fogwise though, which reveals the killer's aura whenever you hit a great skill check on a gen. It's really solid information. He also has Quick Gambit, which speeds up gen speed so long as the killer is chasing you and you're healthy. It's honestly really powerful if you're a half-good looper. It can do wonders, so he's a bit higher up here. Number 41, Adam Francis. Adam has some really interesting perks, but ones which generally are not that great. His best is probably Deliverance, as it lets you unhook yourself after saving someone else, but this can be very hit or miss sometimes, as you may get hooked first, or simply just not be in a position to save sometimes. Autodidact is a healing perk that can be very strong, but is often a detriment to the team, as it initially nerfs your healing, but can be built up to provide larger healing chunks eventually. Diversion is a perk that lets you throw a pebble. It's fun, but useless almost always. Adam is large and has moderate noises. Lower average. Number 40, Trevor Belmont. Trevor is interestingly one of the rarest licensed survivors, but is actually pretty solid, being pretty quiet, although large, and having a series of alright perks. His best I'd say is Eyes of Belmont, with it providing you with an extension to all the auras you read, and also showing you the killer's position each time a gen is completed. Exaltation is a fun perk which levels up your item rarity whenever you stun the killer with a pallet. It's a cool idea and can be mildly useful, especially as it also repairs the item. Moment of Glory is another silly perk which activates by opening chests, so it's largely not worth it. Number 39, Sable Ward. Sable is overall very decent, being small and moderate in noise, and having a number of super average perks. Her most interesting is Invocation Weaving Spiders, a perk which lets you perform a ritual in the basement, causing all gens to permanently lose 10% progress, at the cost of you becoming broken and 60 seconds of your time. It's really debatable if this is worth it. Possibly in a coordinated team it would be. Strength in Shadows lets you self-heal in the basement, which is fine. Then Wicked lets you guarantee a self-unhook in the basement, which is also fine. Sable does have quite coherent perks with one another though, which is nice I suppose. Number 38, Jake Park. Jake has one of the best survivor perks in the game with the perk Iron Will, which makes all of your grunts of pain silent when injured. A huge bonus. He does lack with his other two perks though. Saboteur is a fun, quirky one that lets you sabotage hooks without a toolbox, but it's fairly niche still. Calm Spirit stops you from disturbing crows, which is about as useful as it sounds. Jake is large and loud. Number 37, Steve Harrington. Steve is overall quite average, with a number of solid perks, but ones which do require a lot of setup. Second Wind heals you instantly, but does first require you to fully heal someone else, making it quite situational, often. Camaraderie can pause your second stage hook timer, allowing for more time, but this requires coordination typically. Then Babysitter is, yeah, to be fair, just a decent buff to anti-tunnel for teammates. Steve is large and moderate. Number 36, Bill Overbeck. Bill has Unbreakable, which is the best thing about him, a perk which allows you to revive yourself from the dying state. This makes it great for stopping slugging, but also clutching out for the team. Borrowed Time is a fine anti-tunnel perk nowadays, and Left Behind is probably one of the worst perks in the game, and also just encourages a selfish playstyle. Bill is large and very loud. Number 35, Laurie Strode. Laurie is one of few characters not currently purchasable. She offers a pretty lackluster range of perks, with her best being Decisive Strike or DS. This perk being the best anti-tunnel perk in the game, as it lets you literally stab the killer if they tunnel you, although it does have many stipulations. Her other two perks are most detrimental, with Objective Obsession putting you in constant danger, and Sole Survivor encouraging you to betray your team. Laurie is small but loud. Number 34, Jonah Vasquez. Jonah has great strengths but also some weaknesses. He's large and loud, and he has corrective action, but he does also have Overcome, a perk that extends your post-hit speed boost, allowing you to gain a ton of ground. He also has Boon Exponential, which allows survivors within the boon to recover from the dying state. It is admittedly quite niche, but when it works, it really works insanely well, so I think it should be considered quite strong still. Number 33, Élodie Rakoto. Élodie has cool perks, but ones which are very niche. If you just want fun though, she's a great pick. Her perks are not great overall though, I'd say. Appraisal lets you rummage chests for tons of items, but you just don't need this many items honestly. Deception allows you to fake entering lockers for deception purposes, and it works rarely. Power Struggle is a perk that lets you throw down pallets whilst being carried by the killer to save yourself. It can be incredibly strong therefore, but it activates once in a blue moon. Élodie is small and quiet. Number 32, Quentin Smith. Quentin has a very average range across the board. His best perk is Vigil, a passive perk that reduces the time status effects are active for you and your nearby teammates. Great especially for cutting back exhaustion time. Wake Up is a niche perk which allows you to open exit gates faster. It is what it is. Then Pharmacy is half decent as it guarantees a medkit, and does it quickly. Quentin is otherwise large but moderate with his sounds. Number 31, Gabriel Soma. Gabriel is a good pick overall with him being quiet, although large, and having a solid perk range. Troubleshooter is a really great perk to be honest, providing useful info when in a chase, to keep the chase going and avoid nearby teammates on gens. Made for this is heavily nerfed nowadays, but not half bad still, providing a persistent 3% movement speed boost when deep wounded. Then Scavenger is wildly bad, with it doing so little and just being a far worse version of a perk like Built to Last. Number 30, Felix Richter. Felix has some decently strong perks, making him quite worthwhile. Desperate Measures is a great passive perk that alters its effectiveness depending on how many survivors are injured, making it useful when it needs to be, buffing healing and unhooking. Built to Last is also the best item recovery perk, allowing you to recharge an item's charges multiple times by just climbing into a locker. His worst perk is Visionary, a gen perk which deactivates when you repair a gen. Weird and bad. Felix is large but has moderate sounds. Upper average. Number 29, Taurie Cain. Taurie is not a terrible pick, but does have debatably the worst perk in the game, maybe on both sides, which is Invocation Treacherous Crows. A perk which takes 60 seconds to activate in the basement, breaks you for the whole trial, and then lets you track the killer based on where they scare crows, and if a survivor is in their terror radius. It's so ridiculously convoluted and actively nerfs you, I'd say. So this perk deserves like a 0 or a -1 honestly if I was doing that. She also has Shoulder the Burden, a high-risk perk that lets you take another survivor's hook state, although it does make you exposed in the process, meaning you have to use it very tactically. But it is highly strong to be fair. Her last perk is an alright passive healing perk. Taurie is small and has moderate noises. Number 28, Haddie Kaur. Haddie is pretty moderate overall, despite her being incredibly strong in the lore and deserving much more powerful perks to be honest. But regardless, she has a range of decent perks. Inner Focus allowing her to see the scratch marks of others, Residual Manifest is cool and unique with it applying the blindness status to killers you flashlight blind, and Overzealous is a perk that has potential to be strong, giving bonus gen speed after breaking a totem. Haddie is small and has moderate sounds. Number 27, Orela Rose. Orela is overall pretty decent. She's got a nice range of perks and is small with moderate noises. She also has a very cohesive set of perks, if you're into that kind of thing, with her having 3 perks focused on healing or altruism. Do No Harm is probably her best, with it increasing heal speeds on survivors based on their hook number, making it quite strong as the game progresses and becomes more dire. Duty of Care is also a good altruistic perk, providing everyone with a whopping 25% haste bonus when you take a body block or protection hit. Still rather niche, but it has potential to be very effective and to stop tunneling. Her last perk is fine and is sort of a support perk to exhaustion perks, but doesn't do much alone. Number 26, Ellen Ripley. Ripley is not the best overall, with her only having one half-decent perk, which is Chemical Trap. This perk letting you slow the killer slightly more after they kick a trapped pallet, and can give you some good extra distance. But the main benefit, honestly, is it just causes more killers to refuse to break a pallet, making it quite effective, forcing them to go around it. Her other two, I'd say, are even more gimmicky, with them having a little to no effect, to be honest. Lucky Star especially is just really odd as a perk, and light-footed, whilst sounding quite good, removing your footstep sounds when healthy doesn't really do much against most people. Ripley is otherwise small and moderate with her sounds though. Number 25, Michonne Grimes. Michonne is really solid overall, and a good pick with moderate noises and a small model. She's also got some interesting perks. Conviction is her best, I'd say, allowing her to get up from the dying state for 30 seconds, able to move around and escape the killer, and sometimes even the game if it's during the endgame. Last Stand is also decent, letting you stun the killer with a Volt, which is very cool, activating after 90 seconds, although admittedly being decently hard to pull off. It can really catch the killer off guard. Finally, she has Teamwork Throwdown, which is a half-decent protection perk. Number 24, Jane Romero. Jane has a pretty good range of perks, with many of them being buffed fairly recently. Solidarity is an interesting one, transferring 70% of healing progress onto yourself when healing teammates. Poised is solid stealth information, and Head On is her best, I'd say, allowing you to stun the killer by fast exiting a locker. This can be kind of hit or miss, but also very strong, and allow for some unique saves too. Jane is small, but has moderate sounds. Number 23, 11. 11 gets 11, how fitting. She deserves it too, with her having a really solid range of perks and a small model and moderate sounds. Teamwork Soft-Spoken is great, with it making gens harder for the killer to hear and boosting repair speed. We See You is a fairly passive perk that lets you see the killer if they see you 4 times. It's a nice perk that works in the background and mildly buffs you. She then has Extrasensory Perception, which is arguably a better still sight, revealing basically all interactable items when crouching and remaining still. You see progressively more the more you stay still. So overall 11's a really solid pick. Number 22, Aestri Yazar. Aestri is overall a pretty good pick, with her being quiet, although having a large character model, with her noises also being changeable if you decide to play Bearmar instead. She has some decent perks too. Bardic Inspiration is the best, with it giving a random number buff depending on what you roll with the dice, giving you a higher bonus for landed great skill checks. Stillsight is a decent information gathering perk, which activates when standing still, and then Mirrored Illusion is a fairly silly deception perk that spawns in a fake version of yourself on a gen. It can distract a killer for a second or two, but rarely does it get actual value, so it's pretty bad. Number 21, Detective Tapp. Tapp is a really solid pick for a character, with him being very quiet, although having a large character model. Tapp also has a very average perk range, with his best probably being Detective's Hunch, which activates upon popping a gen, revealing all nearby interactable items with an aura. Tenacity is a fine anti-slug perk, but there's just better, simply. Stakeout is also a nice time save and passive, which is always a nice bonus too. Number 20, Leon S. Kennedy. Leon has a lot of perks that benefit newer players, I'd say, and also has some fun ones too, like Flashbang. A perk that lets you craft flashbangs to stun the killer, which actually do come in very handy for lots of instances, even if for a brief distraction. Bite the Bullet is interesting, as a perk which silences noises completely when healing, which can be used sneakily mid-chase. Rookie Spirit is great for identifying regressing gens, with it lighting them up with an aura. Leon is large but moderate in sound. Number 19, Ada Wong. Ada is actually one of the best survivors if you only focus on her size and noises, with her being small and incredibly quiet. Arguably she does lack a bit of stealth though, as if we consider her cosmetics, they're all quite shiny and bright and red. Ada has some decent perks too. Wiretap lets you install a trap on a gen which monitors when the killer is close and reveals them with an aura. It's surprisingly useful. Reactive Healing automatically heals you when someone nearby is damaged. It can be okay, but does very little overall. Then we have Low Profile, the foot perk. perk. It's not good. Good. Number 18, David King. David has maybe the best survivor perk in the game with Dead Hard, a perk that lets you tank a hit from the killer by pressing E, putting you into deep wound instead. It's very good and has been meta basically forever, despite its many iterations. He also has No Mither, which can be considered the worst survivor perk in the game, making you broken all trial and providing some minor buffs in exchange. So hey, best of both worlds. He has the best and the worst. He also has We're Gonna Live Forever, which is an amazing anti-slug perk. David is large and fairly moderate with his sounds. Number 17, Dwight. Dwight offers a solid range of perks, although many of which have been nerfed over the years, leaving him weaker than he used to be. However, Bond is still amazing and easy information and team coordination, and Prove Thyself does still provide a solid buff to gen speeds. Leader is a half-decent passive which buffs teammates close by, otherwise Dwight is large but fairly moderate when it comes to his sounds. Number 16, Dustin Henderson. Dustin is a good pick overall, although he should have a smaller character model. He does have a large one still in-game, although moderate noises. He also has a really good range of perks. Change of Plan lets you bring in a toolbox to the trial, then turn it into a medkit once it's out of charges. It's really good, honestly. Then he has Teamwork Full Circuit, which makes skill checks easier for teammates, and repair speed faster. It's just a passive win-win. Then Bada Bada Boom is a funny perk that lets you place a chem trap onto a window, which can make for some funny moments, and does slow the killers for a considerable 6 seconds. Overall, he's a really great pick, especially as a starter character. Number 15, Jill Valentine. Jill is solid with her being small and having moderate sounds. She also has the very strong Resurgence, which automatically heals you for 70% of your health upon being unhooked, saving a ton of time and allowing for easy heals off hook. Blast Mine is fine and a fun perk, letting you plant a blast mine on a generator, but it generally only buys you a few seconds if a killer actually kicks it. Then Counterforce is a half-decent perk that lets you cleanse totems moderately faster, so overall she's got a really solid range and is a practical pick. Number 40, Lee Yun-Jin. Yun-Jin is overall decent, being small and having moderate sounds. She also has her very standout perk Smash Hit, which gives a speed boost when stunning a killer with a pallet. Weirdly though, it's a fairly unreliable perk, as most killers will be somewhat cautious with pallets, and will also notice if you're trying to stun them, often making this perk not work as effectively as it could. She's also gotten a recent rework to her other two perks. Fast Track providing the incredible effect of permanently knocking off charges from a gen, and then Self-Preservation providing a brief burst of elusive when someone is unhooked. Number 13, Nancy Wheeler. Nancy is overall very moderate, I'd say, with her worst aspect being that she's quite loud, although small. Nancy has some pretty strong perks though, like Fixated, which lets you walk faster, and is great when paired up with exhaustion perks that require walking for recovery. Inner Strength lets you heal inside of lockers, which is nice, and just requires a totem to activate. Then Better Together is alright, and can provide some useful information, although it is nothing special. Overall, solid. Number 12, Nia Carlson. Nia has a solid, coherent bunch of perks, her best being Balanced Landing, which lets you sprint quickly after dropping from a height. It's great, but unfortunately is hindered by the fact that often maps just don't have many opportunities to actually activate this, aside inside of Shack, which is usually pretty dangerous. Urban Evasion is a fine stealth perk, and Streetwise isn't half bad, but does require interaction with chests, which is generally a waste of time to be honest. Nia is small, but loud. Number 11, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage, despite being a bit of a meme, is honestly really good overall. He's large but quiet and does have some fun and good perks. Dramaturgy being a bit of a randomizer perk with unique effects, but 2 of these being very strong, and the other 2 being a bit of a detriment. Generally though, this works out fine. Scene Partner is a bit of a meme perk, making you scream when you see the killer, but it does help actually too, as it reveals the killer's aura as well. Then Plot Twist allows you to down yourself in exchange for full recovery upon getting back up. It's actually really good. Number 10, Yui Kimura. Yui has some interesting perks, the best being Any Means Necessary, which lets you pick pallets back up. Really good perk and also just very fun. Lucky Break is half decent, removing your pools of blood when injured for a minute, rechargeable through heals. It's pretty okay. Breakout is by far her worst perk, with it speeding up the wiggle speed of teammates when running close by. It's insanely niche and very rarely gets value, if at all. Yui is small and has moderate sounds. Very good. Number 9, Zarina Kassir. Zarina is overall a really good pick, with her being quiet and having a small character model, as well as a number of solid perks. Off the record is her standout, with it being one of the best anti-tunnel perks in the game, providing multiple covers to stop tracking and direct attacks. For the people is niche, but when it does work, it works insanely well, with it enabling you to transfer a health state onto another survivor. Red Herring is her worst perk, and yeah, just don't even bother, let's not talk about it. Number 8, Claudette Morel. Claudette has very focused perks, with them all aiming to buff your healing abilities. Botany Knowledge is a really great flat buff to your healing, and you basically can't miss with it. Empathy is great for helping your team out, and self-care is fine sometimes, but largely a bit of a waste of time if your team is half decent. The ability to self-heal on command though is hardly bad and often useful. Claudette is small but very loud. Number 7, Michaela Reed. Michaela is our resident boon character, with her having 2 boons and both being pretty decent. Circle of Healing gives you a zone of boosted healing for all those inside it, which is really helpful for resetting. Boon Shadow Step is great in conjunction, with it blocking auras and scratch marks for survivors within its radius, although it's less good alone. Her final perk is Clairvoyance, which is a solid information perk that reveals everything around you, although does require an empty hand to use, so no item when using this. Michaela is small and has moderate sounds. Number 6, Rebecca Chambers. Rebecca is overall really solid and a great pick. She's small and quiet and has the great perk Reassurance, which lets you pause the hook timer of other survivors, enabling you far more time to save, which is incredibly valuable, even if a killer isn't camping. She also has the rather average Better Than New, which slightly buffs others when you heal them, and then also Hyper Focus, which has potential to be strong, but does require a dedicated build to be really good, I'd say, providing bonus gen progression when hitting consecutive great skill checks. Number 5, Feng Min. Feng has some really solid perks. Lithe is great, providing a boost of speed after vaulting, making it great for escaping chases easily, or just wasting the killer's time. Then Alert is honestly an incredible information perk, revealing the killer's aura whenever they break something, like a gen or a pallet, meaning this activates quite frequently. Technician is her final perk, and it's maybe okay for beginners, but otherwise fairly pointless. Feng is small, but she is also very, very loud. Number 4, Kate Denson. Kate is overall a great pick as she's small and quiet, and also has a great perk range, Windows of Opportunity being the standout, with it revealing all nearby windows and pallets with an aura, making it very easy to navigate maps and chases without having to worry about where you need to run to next, or what resources are available. Dance With Me is a fine deception perk, but often won't get much use if the killer has line of sight. Then Boil Over is a sometimes effective perk, making your wiggles on the killer's shoulder stronger. It works well with an altruistic team. Number 3, Lara Croft. Lara is overall a great pick, with her being small and really quiet, aside a few sounds which are a bit more distinct, and maybe get picked up on. She also has one of the best survivor perks in the game, Finesse, which lets you fast vault even faster. It really does help you narrowly escape so many situations, and makes strong looping areas like Shack even stronger. Her other 2 perks are not great and suffer horribly from really silly activation requirements, with them both requiring you to interact in some way with chests, which is just a waste of time for the most part. Specialist can have a big effect, but takes a long time to build up, and Hardened is kind of worth it if you build around it, I guess. Number 2, Quante Young. Quante Young is one of the best survivors in the game, despite being so new, and it's because he's honestly very quiet and has a really solid range of perks, although does have a larger character model. His best perk, and debatably one of the best perks in the game, is 5 Moves Ahead, a perk that has the very unique effect of letting you drop pallets 50% faster, which is very strong, but it also reveals the 5 nearest pallets or windows when in chase, or in the killer's terror radius, making it a highly viable alternative to Windows of Opportunity. Flow State is also great, gradually buffing you passively as the match goes on, for each generator completed. Then A Place For Us is okay too, masking your position from auras whenever you're healing someone, making him overall a really good pick. Amazing. Number 1, Meg Thomas. Meg has maybe the best offering of perks in the game, with both Sprint Burst and Adrenaline, which are both exhaustion perks and have pretty much always been meta. Sprint Burst particularly being debatably one of the best perks the Survivor side has, making her a good free pick. Quick and Quiet is fine, making your fast actions silent. Meg is small, but also incredibly loud. Here's my recommendations for which Survivor you should pick. based on what you want to get out of them, whether you're a newer player or a more experienced one. Alright, well, that's gonna do it. I do hope you enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts as always down below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.